Signs that North Korea is building missiles in the same research facility that manufactured the country's first intercontinental ballistic missile, weapons that are capable of reaching the U.S. mainland. All this, according to the Washington Post. This despite President Trump's assertions that North Korea is no longer a nuclear threat. Joining us now from Washington is Bruce Klingner, Heritage Foundation Senior Research Fellow of Northeast Asia and former CIA Deputy Division Chief for Korea. Bruce, always great to have you on the show. So now we have these latest reports, but earlier this year, I also remember that we were talking about North Korea dismantling their rocket testing site. So what are the latest developments right now telling you about North Korea, about Pyongyang's ultimate intention here when it comes to their nuclear weapons program?
Well, the recent report shows that they're continuing production of ICBMs, but there were earlier intelligence leaks as well as non-government satellite imagery analysis, which showed that North Korea was continuing production and even expanding and upgrading production facilities for missiles, missile launchers, reentry vehicles, and the fissile material for nuclear weapons. So the activity itself is not really per se a violation of the Singapore agreement because no real deal was reached. But it would seem to be a counter violation to the spirit of the Singapore summit. It doesn't seem to be consistent with a government that's about to abandon all these programs. And most importantly, it's a continuing violation of numerous UN resolutions which require Pyongyang not only to not test, but to abandon their nuclear missile and BCW programs in a complete, verifiable, irreversible manner.
Sure, but at least we have seen North Korea recently return the remains of 55 U.S. war dead. So how much confidence does that give you that at least they're keeping a dialogue open with the United States?
Well, the return of the remains of our fallen warriors is welcome. We were getting remains up until 2005 when the Bush administration stopped the program. We had gotten a total of 689 remains back over the years. So this is a good step to get them back, as well as if we resume the missions. That said, they're not related to denuclearization. And the closure of the nuclear test site and the rocket engine test facility, North Korea earlier in the year had said they no longer need to test because they've completed their nuclear and missile program. So welcome developments, but not necessarily indicative of a willingness to actually denuclearize.
So Bruce, assuming for the moment good faith on the part of Kim Jong-un and the North Korean regime, why would it be that they'd be building reportedly 1 or 2 new liquid fuel multi-stage ICBMs? Why would they be doing it?
Well, some would argue that because they are not yet precluded from doing so under a U.S., North Korea, or a multilateral agreement, they can continue doing it until they sign a signature which says they can't. Again, it's a violation of UN resolutions. So, some would say it's even a way for them to gain negotiating leverage. The more weapons they have, perhaps, the more benefits they can gain in return. On the other hand, it doesn't seem to be consistent with, someone who's about to abandon the programs.
Perhaps more directly to the point, when we talked to you earlier, right after the summit, you said the most important thing, the first step, is to give a complete inventory of their operations in North Korea having to do with nuclear weapons and ICBMs. Do we have any reason to believe that we are any closer to having that inventory today than we were then? Time is a-wasting.
Right. We don't have any evidence that they're about to give us a data declaration, nor no evidence that they're going to denuclearize. Secretary Pompeo went to Pyongyang a few weeks ago trying to add meat to the bones of the Singapore communique. He came out and said he thought he'd made some progress. North Korea very quickly and with great length and vitriol said, no, we not only don't feel we made progress, but they categorically really rejected all of the U.S. proposals. So that really was, a very dangerous signal that North Korea is not willing to denuclearize and that the diplomatic process may not be, forthcoming.
Bruce, denuclearization has been a key U.S. policy, especially in this administration. But can there be peace without North Korea giving up its nuclear weapons?
Well, there has been a lot of talk about peace regime, peace declaration, peace treaty, some conflicting terms or confusing terms. A peace treaty would remove the justification for maintaining the UN command moniker for the U.S. forces. It doesn't require the U.S. to remove its troops or reduce them. That's all part of the joint defense treaty with South Korea. I think it would be premature to sign a treaty before we reduce the conventional force threat.
Bruce, thank you so much for your time. Bruce Klingner, Heritage Foundation Senior Research Fellow.